And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this first day of October. Yet it feels like we're in the month of June out there with temperatures right around that 80-degree mark and windy conditions out of the south. I'm Chief Meteorologist Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Sure doesn't feel, I don't know if I'm sure you've been outside for a little bit there, Bridgette, but man, it just feels like summer out there. It does not feel like the 1st of October.
It's a lot of things. It's warm, which we've got a lot of dry conditions. A number of combine fires been going on.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, multi-state area up into the Canadian provinces. So let's all be very cautious about that. Farmers are certainly taking extra time to have air compressors so they can blow all of that dust off their machines. Additionally, they may have like the whole fleet of lawn and garden leaf blowers in order to try to get those things cleaned up. Interestingly enough, though, I had a guy in South Dakota send me a picture. He burned up the air cart on his grain drill or on his air seeder because they were planting some cover crop, and whatever happened, something got hot, and it's so dry and dusty in the stubble they're working in. They were able to detach to leave the air cart sit, but that sucker went up in flames. So that's a done deal.
Boy.
So be careful out there.
Yeah,
it's dry.
It's a very high fire risk out there today as those winds will continue to ramp up out of the south, over 30 throughout parts of the afternoon. There was a few light showers around the Mayville area earlier. Those have died off, and we're really not expecting much. Stronger storms in far northwest Minnesota, and those are moving north into Canada as those southerly winds carry any clouds and precip from south to north. Now, we can't rule out an isolated pop-up shower or thunder shower towards evening, but most of us going to remain dry today. So again, yeah, if you're out in the fields, it is it's like a tinder box. It can be, so please be careful. 85 today with those south winds gusting over 30. Tonight, we're looking at clear to partly cloudy skies with lows in the lower 60s with light winds. So the winds will go light tonight. And then tomorrow, a top 10 day. Sunshine, light winds out of the south, about 5 to 10, and highs about 86 tomorrow. Now, we're looking at upper 80s on Friday. Still, winds shouldn't be that bad on Friday. So a couple of days where the winds won't be a big problem. We'll start to ramp up the winds a bit on Saturday, and highs close to 90 on Saturday. Now, a storm system will ride in from the west Saturday night and Sunday. Now, that will give us some rain on Sunday, and we'll have falling temperatures as a cold front swings through. So we'll start off the morning in the 60s, and then we'll see temperatures slowly fall as northwest winds increase in the afternoon. Now, I'm not expecting a lot of rain from the FM area into Lakes Country and south. We're looking at a quarter inch or less, so not a lot. Now, out to our west, let's say Jamestown, Bismarck, up through moving northwest from or northeast from there towards Grand Forks. Those areas could pick up an inch or more of rain as the main rain axis will be out to our west as the low pressure kind of rides almost directly over our area. That puts the rain shield just northwest of that low pressure area. That's why we're expecting the heavier rains just northwest of the valley. And then temperatures starting out next week in the upper 50s to near 60 for afternoon highs. That's a little more like it for early October instead of these mid to upper 80s that are blanketed over the area.
According to reports this morning, we are probably about neck and neck with where we were a year ago for our soybean harvest. Corn looks to be just a little bit behind, but it's going to catch up. And sugar beets, well, we knew that today was supposed to be the first official day of the sugar beet harvest campaign, but it's too warm.
Yeah.
And so they're having to make some adjustments in their schedule. We had a listener question for you yesterday, Dean, and that came in after we were preempted by the press conference downtown. And one of our listeners is asking, what do we anticipate happening through the rest of October as far as rain delay potential, et cetera? And they're looking about halfway between Fargo and Grand Forks.
Right. And outside of the big rain to our north and northwest on Sunday, we'll quiet things down. Our next chance of precip will come in about the 9th or 10th. We'll see a storm system come through, a little, looks like a weak system. We'll keep an eye on that. And then there could be a larger system around the 15th. What happens after the 15th? Our models are all over the place, so I don't want to give anything out after the 15th of October just yet, as we're seeing some signs we could have a dry northwest flow Or we could be setting up a trough of low pressure out in the Rockies, which would give us stormier conditions. So our models are kind of polar opposites on what that tells us. That sends off kind of alarm bells that when the models are all over the place like that, usually that means there's a big pattern change coming because the models aren't quite latching onto it just yet. But for the first through the first half of the month, again, we've got a storm system around the 8th or 9th, and then another one. So that, let's say the 8th through the 10th, possibility of some precip around here, and then another one close to about the 12th through the 15th. It looks like. So in terms of temperature-wise, are we going to see a hard freeze? I think as we head towards the 12th to the 15th, that's when we stand our best chance of a widespread frost and or freeze around the area. So we're getting signs that colder weather not only building in Canada, but it will start to make its move southward after about the 6th, 7th of October. So, and it's about time. I mean, like I said, this stuff here, although, hey, if you like being outdoors and you're an outdoor enthusiast, this weather is beautiful. It's dry for our harvest, almost too dry. Unfortunately, we could use a little bit of rain. But in terms of the sugar beet harvest, we will cool down, kiss these 80s goodbye, and a couple chances for precip up through mid-October.
Well, that's going to be a great improvement for those folks. Meanwhile, we are going to race through some soybean and corn harvesting. I mean, it's dry. We have a lot of soybeans out there being reported at 10% moisture. It's moving fast. Now, remember, we are the Coral Laundromat Studio, and that means you might want to investigate the things that they can do for your farm and agribusiness. They have an 80-pound washing machine capacity. So if you have grease-covered clothes, shop rags, maybe you had to wind up doing some pretty heavy-duty work that you weren't planning to, well, they can work it out for you. You can either drop it off or take care of it yourself, and that is the new Coral Laundromat, open at 3620 Veterans Boulevard, right in Fargo. All through our show today, you are welcome to give us a call. You can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. We're happy to have your comments, your questions, and any of the other things that you might have going on. I do want to say that I've had a lot of listener response to our discussion yesterday with Jeff Irwin. Jeff talked about his dad farming in the early 80s and unfortunately died by suicide in the midst of what was a pretty high pressure financial situation. And we didn't get to spend as much time with Jeff as we would have liked, only because there was a press conference yesterday. And so I look forward to Jeff coming back. He already volunteered that he would join us midwinter and make sure from a family perspective for those who are left behind, talk about those after effects and also, again, watching for the signs in your loved ones to make sure that we're keeping a very close eye on folks throughout our winter months. A lot to do today. It is Wednesday Weather Trivia. Dean's going to have trivia questions for us. There's so much more. So first things first, if you aren't already watching, tune us in on Facebook, YouTube, Acres TV. You too can be watching us live. We'd love to have you. And as you think about more questions for us, we'd be glad to have them. Dean, are we doing weather trivia early or late today?
Let's do it. Let's do it on our last segment. Yeah, we'll do it at the end of the show.
So everybody should hang on, but it's going to be worth your time.
Yeah, and
because we're. Go ahead.
I was going to say we'll give a hint. It's about snow trivia, so you might want to get your snow trivia facts kind of together. And I got this from Bridgette this morning. She sent me over a pretty interesting fact on largest snowfalls for each state. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of shocked ours was, I thought ours was a little bit lower. And you saw what was South Dakota, it was 54 inches, I think. I've got it in my office, but I know it was in the 50s.
52.
52?
Yeah, the record snowfall in a 24-hour period in South Dakota
was 52. That had to be in the Black Hills. It had to be.
Oh, I would guess so, because if you think about they had their storm Atlas. That would have been an October storm. I do not remember the year. It's been at least 10, I believe. And that was an unbelievable snowfall accumulation in a short amount of time. And it was the heavy, wet snow. Fences were broken. Machine sheds went down. Livestock was stranded because they weren't all home yet from their summer pasture. There were a number of head of livestock that died in that event.
Oh, I bet.
It was pretty traumatic for the area.
Yeah.
So hate to see that kind of thing happen.
Right.
But yeah, I believe that was Blizzard Atlas is the name of it, if you want to go look that up.
I will check that out.
So, things to keep in mind. Other things that we might want to keep in mind, well, because it's harvest, there is so much data that gets used on our farms these days. And the FBI is reminding folks to keep it safe. Homeland Security also believes that food security is national security. And so, with that data, what you own needs to be protected. Now, I always talk about Chris Sherman with Tech Support Farm and how he can help you do that. But also remember, just for your own use, the amount of data that you generate off your farm out of your equipment is tremendous. It's actually believed that Bayer is holding more than half of the world's agricultural data in its data banks due to the way farmers report a variety of information to them. And also, they have a partnership with Amazon Web Services. And so, legally, that hasn't always kept up with how quickly the data technology has progressed within farming. But there is a reminder from several attorneys that farm data should be considered your intellectual property, specifically even your trade secrets. So if you don't know where your data is going, and if you're not protecting it with passwords and so much more, there's a real possibility that it could be taken from you and used in ways that you weren't expecting. So let's be careful with that. Speaking of things you might not be expecting, today's guest is joining us from Colorado. We are going to visit with Michael Kirakatis. I hope I've said that right. I'll have Michael correct me if I haven't. But we're going to talk about raising watermelon and cantaloupe over in Colorado. I'm excited to hear the story of their farm and how they managed to bring these melons to market. And we'll do that after the livestock update from the American Ag Network. Well, it's fall and all those vine crops in your garden are looking for a home. I know I've got a few pumpkins that are screaming for a little time out of the growing season. They'd like to go other places. Maybe you've been raising watermelons and cantaloupe. Well, it's time to talk to the professional. We have with us Michael Hirakatis. He is from
Yeah.
Colorado with Hirakatis Farms. Michael, tell us all about your operation. I'd love to hear the history behind it.
Yeah, our, we've been farming in this area around 100 years, maybe 110 years, somewhere around there. And we grow cantaloupe, watermelon, pumpkins, a whole bunch of different varieties of pumpkins, but we grow the seeded and seedless cantaloupe or watermelons and just like an eastern shipper of cantaloupe, like an Athena. Athena type is what we grow.
Okay, so it's not like the melons are native to Colorado. So how did that whole operation get started for you?
Um, well, my dad started it when I was in about 1972, so I was about 2 or 3 years old, and he took a gamble on it, and this area is known for how sweet the cantaloupes are with the flux in temperature from 100 degrees in the daytime to 60 degrees at night. It kind of forces the cantaloupe in more sugar, so there's already a good flavor set here, and Rocky Ford was already known for the cantaloupe, so he just kind of kept farming and went with it.
I would say that going with it has led to quite a lot. This is maybe, I don't know how well you can answer this question, but how many watermelons can you grow on an acre? Is it counted in like the number of
On an
hills
acre,
or
let's
harvested?
see, on an acre, my computer didn't hook up, so I'm using my phone to talk to you, so I can't use my calculator, but say
Oh,
45 watermelons to
it's
a
okay.
bin times 56 times 60, 60, what, about
Okay.
24, maybe 2,400 on a decent, um, decent
I'm
harvest,
doing the
maybe
math
more,
for
maybe.
us. About 20, that's about 2,700. So don't worry, I'll follow up
Yeah.
for you. So, okay, so
Okay.
that's about
Yeah. 2,700
2,700 melons is what you're saying? Okay.
marketable melons. Yes.
Wow.
What do you mean by marketable?
That we actually ship. There's a lot that's left on the ground because of they're too small, maybe sunburn, maybe odd shape, but that's actually a number one shippable watermelon to retail.
Okay. And when you said shippable, etc., do you have a specific size that they need to be? Because like
Yeah.
potatoes, I know we're shooting for size for processing, etc. How about
hmm
for whether it's the watermelon, cantaloupes, etc.?
Yeah. The watermelons we usually try to put like 45 in a bin or 60. A 60 count is smaller. And on the cantaloupe, we do a nine count, a 12 count, and a 6 count. And the sixes are the largest.
What's a bin look like? Because I think of a grain bin that I'd put corn
No,
or wheat in.
it's it's about 24 inches high. You know what a pallet is, 30, what are the pallets? 36 by 40, somewhere around there. They fit
Hmm.
right on that pallet, and they're 24 inches tall. And you got to size them to the right size. You can't just put random sizes in there. They all have got to be, within the specs of whatever retail wants to make everything look perfect.
And Michael, like we had one of our listeners sent an email question asking,
Mhm,
when I go to I think you kind of you did say with the very warm days and cool nights that makes the melons a lot sweeter.
mhm.
They ask when I'm going to a store, how do I tell? Like the old, I don't know if it's an old wives' tale. I know my mom used to do this. She used to knock on the watermelon, and
Yeah.
if it was a hollower sound or whatnot. The listener wants to know, how can I pick out the best watermelon when there's so many to choose from, and how can you tell, I guess without tasting it, how do you know if it's sweet, if it's a sweeter melon or if it's not that sweet of a melon?
Well, to tell if it's ripe or a good, or not overripe and not too green, um, you tap on it, and if it resonates, it's got to be a deep tap, but it has to resonate through the whole watermelon. And if it's
Hmm.
kind of like a flat, duddy sound, it's overripe or it has hollow heart. And if it's a real high pitch thump through it, it's green. The way we kind of pick a sweet one, sometimes where the dark green meets the lighter green color,
Hmm.
it'll ridge up. And when it has those
Okay.
ridges, it seems to be a little bit more sweeter. And sometimes they get little bumps on there, and it seems like those are sweeter to us out here. But I don't know if that's our
Okay.
growing condition doing that, or if it happens everywhere else. I don't eat watermelons other than ours, so
Okay.
I'm very particular.
Oh, I bet. Okay. Are all your watermelons like the pink flesh? Because there can be different colors, right?
They're red. We grow red, yellow, and orange uh,
There's
flesh
orange?
inside, and yeah, they're extremely sweet. The yellow and the orange, the texture is a little bit different than the red. They're not as crispy, but they're sweeter. They seem to be sweeter.
This whole conversation is going to drive me to feel like I need a fruit basket. I'll see what I can do about that after the show. I have a whole list of questions for you. And I just want to walk through like the whole cropping season. So let's get started with
Mhm.
one of them before we have to do our news break. Um, how do you plant them? Do you use a mechanical planter or are you having to plant by hand?
The cantaloupes are planted by seed, so everything's mechanical. Uh, we plant about 12 inches apart in line, and then our row spacing is 72-inch. The watermelons are all planted by transplants, and we do have a machine for that, but we have people
Oh,
on the back of the machines that actually put the um, transplants in a little tube, and then it drops it down into a spade, and it plants it at the ground, the correct depth, and then it adds a little bit of water. So, if it's hot outside, or even if it's cool, it just has that little bit of water to get going.
okay, that's going to be helpful. I have many more questions like that, and I hope that some of our listeners do as well. And if you do, you can email either Dean or I, ag or weather at flagfamily.com. You can call us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. And then we're going to come back because today it's all about melons. For those sponsors that were a part of Here We Grow 2025, a big thank you to you. Red River Retention Authority, which, by the way, try to say that 4 times fast in a row. You can't. I challenge you to try. But what they do is great work, making sure that on years where we do have heavy water flows and potential flooding, we know where things need to go. They're in charge of dam rehabilitation, and I mean more than just dam. They do the rehabilitation on the dams. And then also, thank you to Gowan USA. As this crop is coming off the field so quickly, we want to make sure to think about using a product of theirs like Vita for burn down for the fall in some of our stubble because we want to get ahead of weed control for 2025. Our guest today is Michael Hirakatis, and we are having this fabulous conversation all about pumpkins, watermelons, cantaloupes being raised out in the state of Colorado. Michael, how do you harvest? I live like a mile and a half from a pumpkin patch, and they hire local high
Mhm.
school kids to pick the pumpkins, and then they pack them up and send them to the store. What happens at your
Mhm.
farm?
We actually hire guys from Mexico. They're on the H2A program. So we have about, I'd say 50 or 60 of them and a few local people that it's all hand harvested. We cut the pumpkins and then we line them up in a windrow and then size them and put them in a bin again and get them off to the grocery store. The cantaloupes are harvested. We have a harvester and they pick the ripe cantaloupe and then put the cantaloupes on a belt and then they go into a trailer and then the trailer brings the cantaloupes to a processing plant where we grade, wash, pack, and sanitize and trace our cantaloupes to each field. And the watermelons are picked exactly the same way the pumpkins are.
And Michael, when you said you ship them off to the grocery store, are you keeping your melons in Colorado or are you nationwide?
For the most part, the cantaloupe are mostly Colorado Front Range. Our biggest customers are Kroger, Safeway, Whole Foods, and then we have some wholesalers. But the population in Colorado has grown quite a bit, so we have our hands full supplying the state of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
But sometime, this year we did have extra, so we shipped as far out as I think Alabama. The watermelons, there was an abundance of watermelons through the United States, so I think the furthest we got with our watermelons was Houston. But
Oh,
for the most part, I think 90%, 95% stays in Colorado. It's just there's a pretty big demand
Right.
for our cantaloupe here in Colorado.
All right, Bridgette, road trip to Colorado. We've got to get some of these.
Yes.
can we just
Yeah.
have them shipped? Because I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, we actually we can do the cantaloupe, not the watermelon. But our cantaloupe
Okay.
season is over, but next definitely should be some.
Now, Michael,
Okay,
oh, go ahead.
but wait a sec, wait a sec. Because Michael, you just said we can send you the cantaloupe, but not the watermelon. Why? Is that
Uh,
a agricultural restriction state by state, or do they
no,
not ship well?
the watermelons don't ship well. I think they won't take the bumping. Um, when they set them in there, they when they're ripe, they kind of tend to crack or they smash and they get a hole in it. Brine is not as tough as a cantaloupe. The cantaloupe will actually have a little flex in it. You can smash them, and the inside will still be good. The watermelon will tend to crack inside, and sometimes the rind will crack and it'll start leaking. So we've shipped some the personal size watermelons before, but we've only done that once, and I can't recall too good, but I don't think we had too good of luck with that. But we can try.
And Michael,
Okay. Okay.
what's the difference between, or maybe there isn't in terms of taste, between seedless and non-seedless? Is there any difference?
To me, there is a difference in taste. Depending on the year, sometimes the seedless are sweeter and sometimes the seeded are sweeter. But the seedless tends to be a little crunchier. For the flesh is a little bit firmer, where the seeded, it has the seed cavity. In some places, it's not as firm. But the flavor is almost the same. I would say it's the texture that's different on
Oh,
them.
okay, all right.
So, okay, let's talk just a little bit about what's going on with these in the field. And by that I
Okay.
mean, are you dry land or irrigation?
We're irrigation. I heard your commercial. You guys have to get water away from the fields, and we have to pump everything to the field. All of our produce is grown. So we hook up to our wells and pump water or surface irrigation, and we pump everything to the field. We use subsurface irrigation for all of our produce, drip tape, and we cover the ground with plastic mulch, and then we plant through that
Oh,
mulch, and that way we don't it conserves a little bit of water, but then again you're able to use the water whenever you want because the water never goes to the furrow. It's all underground, and so you can actually irrigate while you're harvesting and you're running all your tractors through the field, so it makes it way more efficient. But they say it's a water saver, but I think it's about the same amount of water because you're able to use it throughout the harvest, throughout the year, and into the harvest season to maintain your vines.
s- so when you think about those plants, like corn is a very heavy
Mhm.
nitrogen user. And
Yeah.
what about melons? Are you using a lot of nitrogen or maybe phosphorus, or are they putting more back into the soil than they might be taking out? What's that fertility picture look like?
The fertility, we don't use too much nitrogen on it. I say there's more phosphorus, potash, um, that versus the nitrogen, and they don't really put anything back into the ground like beans or anything like that. But when you do rotate, will go to hay or corn after our produce, and it's a very good rotation for those crop versus hay is a very good rotation for us to come back into produce. They use two
Do
different
you
kind
have
of the nutrients they use are way completely different.
very different? Okay. Do you get insects that really go after
Yes.
your crop? What are
Yeah.
they?
We have a heavy pressure from the cucumber beetle, and then we get the mite, the corn, the hay, alfalfa. They get once we cut our alfalfa, they come out of the alfalfa into the cantaloupe, and they do some damage on the vines and spread disease through it. So we have to be very we have to watch these fields really close to make sure we're on schedule with our pesticide program.
All right, and
Okay.
and we've got a caller, Michael. Tom is on line one. Tom, do you have a question for Michael?
Yeah, sure do. Just real quick, so maybe I missed this, but what do you do for weed control? Is that where the plastic comes in?
Yeah, we do use the weed control for plastic or the plastic for weed control, but it's a lot of manual labor with guys out there pulling the weeds and using a hoe and a lot of manual labor out there. It's a lot. So we
So
do
you
put some
don't,
pre-emergence down before we plant, but sometimes it doesn't work if you get a windstorm or a breeze after you spray that before you get the plastic mulch down. It can blow some of that away.
right? So you put the plastic and then poke the holes through the plastic down through the rows then,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. The
plant.
the
Yeah,
po- the planter, no, the planter
that's what I
actually
figured.
pokes the hole. Yeah,
As it goes
Oh,
along.
okay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. That's an excellent question. Okay, another one that I have for you, Michael. Once you harvest, do you store
Hmm.
them? Because you talked about the bins, but it's not like a grain
Hmm.
bin. Do you store the melons
Yeah,
for any length of time or the pumpkins, or does everything ship as quickly as possible out of the field?
we try to ship everything as quickly as possible. The cantaloupes we have to cool them, so they're stored for about a minimum of uh, probably 18 hours. Let's see if we pick probably about 24 hours because we have to get them to temperature. So they'll come in around 75 degrees and we want them to go out about 38 degrees. So we have big forced air coolers that will pull all that field temperature out. So those will be stored and hopefully we can move them as fast as we get them. But sometimes, the way the market dictates, we have to hold them longer. The watermelons, we don't cool those, so we don't want to store them. But sometimes we do. If there's a rainstorm coming, we will pick
Mm-hmm.
as much as we can, so we have them. And the same with the pumpkins in the barn before the rainstorm hits. But we like to pick
Are
to
your
order.
pump?
So if we
Oh, okay. Keep going. Keep going.
we like to pick to order. So say we have an order for 5 loads of watermelons, we'll pick 10, 8 loads, so we get a start on tomorrow. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes we're behind, and we have to push the orders back a day. And sometimes we're long on our fruit, so we have to quit picking in the field.
Okay, where do your pumpkins go? As I mentioned, I have a You Pick pumpkin patch just down the road from me,
Hmm.
but they also have a separate field where they pick and they go to local retail outlets here. Those
Yep.
are primarily jack-o'-lanterns, but you
Yeah.
raise different varieties of pumpkins. So are they
Hmm.
like sweet sugar pie pumpkins, or what are you raising your pumpkins for? What market?
Our main market is retail. We do have a few pumpkin patches. We do, but everything, I'd say 99% of our what we grow has to be stickered, sized, a chip pallet, a certain count. We grow you call them sugar pies. We grow cannonball, which is the pie pumpkin, and we grow
Oh,
a fairy tale, which is it's like a green squash. If we grow a variety bin with like 7 different varieties of pumpkins. We grow a knucklehead. They have warts on them. A white pumpkin. I can't remember. We used to grow a few more, but there's quite a few. There's quite a few varieties we grow.
okay. This has been so much fun, especially as we get kind of the end of the gardening season and folks are thinking about, did my garden do well or not? How did my melons turn out?
Mhm.
Well, good news. Someone else is worrying about way more than you might be. So, Michael, thank you. Where can people
Thank you.
ask questions of you? I accidentally found you through a Furrow magazine article, but then
Uh-huh.
also thank you for responding to my message through Facebook. So, can folks
Yeah.
reach out to you in any other way?
The Facebook would probably be the best way.
Okay.
Uh, I usually try to respond, or I farm with my cousin, or he'll respond, or between the two of us, we might be able to come up with an answer.
Sweet. Literally sweet. Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Thank,
Thank you.
thanks so much, Michael. Much appreciated. And when we come back, we'll have our weather trivia answer for the day for your chance to win one of our beautiful rain gauges. And hopefully, we'll have a winner with that. But we'll have that and a couple of ag topics when we come back. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this first day of October. And temperatures outside already in the lower 80s. We'll make it up to about 86, 87 today, it looks like. And very windy conditions. We got winds gusting out of the south almost at 40 miles an hour. So kind of a hang on to your toupee kind of day. And it's time for our weather trivia. For a chance to win one of our Darter Plastic heavy-duty rain gauges. And today's trivia question has to do with snowfall. And the question is, what is the largest 24-hour snowfall in Fargo? 701-293-9000. And if you get it within a half inch, and bonus, I'll throw in a little something extra if you can give me the year on it. I can hear the fingers going on Google search right now. What's the largest 24-hour snowfall here in Fargo? 701-293-9000. And Bridgette, I left that sheet in the other room for statewide. It was 22 inches? 27 inches, man. Can you imagine that in one storm? No, thank you. All right, we got a caller.
Actually, I've lived here long enough that I can.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that easily when the wind ramps up and you get in high drifts, but wow. All right, caller, line one. Can I get your name, please?
Kevin, Fergus Falls.
Kevin, what's your guess, bud?
22 inches.
That is not correct. Good guess, though. Good guess. All right, we got a caller here on the line, too. Caller, what's your name?
Barry,
Barry, what's your guess?
27 inches.
No, that's the state record, but we're looking for just Fargo. What's the record for Fargo for the most snowfall in a 24-hour period? All right, we got a caller on line 3. Caller, what's your name?
Bob,
Bob, what's your guess?
24 and a half.
No. See, I thought and I got this from the National Weather Service, so this is, again, not a storm total, but a 24-hour period of snow. What's the most snow we've seen in 24 hours here in Fargo? Caller, line 1, what's your name?
Hey, hello?
Yes, what's your name?
Yeah, my name is John.
John, what's your guess?
How about 18 inches?
You're close. I said I'd give it if it was within a half inch, but that was close. But yeah, so again, it's not the largest storm per se, because we've had storms that last for 2 days around here. But what's the largest 24-hour snowfall that we've received in Fargo? Caller, line 1, what's your name?
Dave.
Dave, what's your guess?
I'm going to say 16.
Bingo. Yeah, it's actually, we'll give it to you. It's 16.3 inches. Dave, any clue on what year?
I'm going to say probably 89.
No, it was actually January 22nd, 1982. 1982.
Okay.
So 16.3, yeah, back in January of 82. So, Dave, hang on, and our producer, Addison, will get your information. And then you know where our station is at, correct? All right, perfect. And then just swing by the station and pick that up. Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Good guess, too. So, yeah, 16.3 inches, Bridgette. And I'm sure there was wind with that, and I'm sure that we had probably 4 or 5 foot high drifts along with that as well. Do you remember that back in 82?
Yeah, I would have been old enough to remember that. I mean,
Yep.
I was in elementary school, but there's a time in your life, and it's usually elementary school, where all those storms just became one giant blizzard. But nonetheless, they were pretty prevalent. And I almost want to guess if that was the year that, remember 19th Avenue in Fargo doesn't look like it's that wide open, but it certainly was then. And some students were trying to leave NDSU and got caught in that snowstorm in a snowbank. And there were some students that died in that storm. And I don't know if it was the 1982 storm or not, but it might have been. And I'm sure someone is very astute and listening and would be able to look that up for me pretty fast. So that's a real possibility someone can find it.
Yeah, and I've had numerous questions already asking emails. Hey, what's it look like for this upcoming winter? What is the LRC showing? And all right, the new LRC doesn't start until next week, next Monday, right around that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday time frame. So once we start the cycle, we'll see how the rest of October. Now, I believe last October, I'll have to go and double check, but I believe last October was pretty dry, the first part of the cycle. And we ended up with a less than snowier winter. So let's see how this October and November pans out. We'll be watching it closely.
Remember, a year ago was when we had the big grass prairie fire in western North Dakota.
Right. Yeah. And be careful out there today. Very windy conditions. So for Bridgette, myself, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Don't go anywhere. Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.